All right. Welcome to today's class on Dotloop 201. This is the advanced Dotloop class, so it does build on the Dotloop 101 class. So if you have not tuned into the Dotloop 101 class, that can be viewed on slmtraining.com. And the Dotloop 101 class is more of the Dotloop basics, teaching you how to create forms and share them. In today's class, we'll be going over a little more advanced tips, tricks, and time savers to make your Dotloop experience a little more effective and a little more efficient. So if you could go ahead and log on to dotloop.com. That's where I am on my screen. So again, that's dotloop.com. Of course, the best way to get into your Dotloop account is going to your mykw.kw.com account and clicking Start My Transactions from there. All right, but either way is perfectly fine. Just a heads up, there is a Dotloop mobile app for your Android and iPhone. Okay, if you have a tablet, an Android tablet or an iPad, the Dotloop app is really great to go ahead and download so you can work with your clients on the go. All right, so I am on dotloop.com here on my home screen. And to start off class, I would like to start talking about the two different homepage views, okay, and the reason I like one or the other better. All right, so this view you're looking at right here is called the grid view on my screen, and I believe that's how it always defaults on your computer when you go into Dotloop for the first time. However, the view I personally prefer better is called the list view. So you'll notice on the top right of your Dotloop account, we have this white toolbar right under the black toolbar where we have a little red dot with some lines through it, 3 horizontal lines. Let's go ahead and click on that icon there to switch over to the list view. All right, so that's this little red circle on the top right of your Dotloop account, okay, right under the black toolbar here. All right, so this is our list view. So the reason that I like this view better, all right, so first of all, it does give you a search bar at the top of your loops. So you're going to start having a lot of loops because you're going to be selling tons of homes, having tons of transactions, of course. So it's really handy to have this search bar at the top of your screen to be able to quickly search for the loop that you're looking for. Okay, so you can search by whatever the loop name is right here, and that will pop right up. Okay, so that is extremely helpful to find loops. Another reason that I really like this homepage view is it allows you to adjust the status of the loop right from your homepage here. Okay, so you'll see how it has listing for sale. Okay, if you have loops currently in there, you'll see that you're able to adjust these two options right here. So you'll first have to adjust the first option, the first drop down here to select if it's a purchase or listing for sale and so forth. Okay, you'll see all those options there. All right, but what I really want to direct your attention to is the second drop down. Okay, and you will not have the second drop down option until you change the first one, just a heads up. So this is where you're able to adjust if this is an active listing or if the listing has sold or if you'd like to archive the loop. So a question that we get all the time is, oh no, I lost my loop, it's gone out of my Dotloop account forever. You can see how that would be a frantic moment. All right, so let me show you a couple things, what to do if you lose a loop in your account, and also how to purposefully archive loops in your account using these statuses. So to start off, there is no deleting anything in your Dotloop account. You cannot delete a loop, you can't delete a form in your Dotloop account, you can only archive items. So you'll notice on the second drop down here, it gives me the option to change that to archived. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see what this looks like. All right, so it updates that loop status to archived, but you'll notice it's still on my loop homepage. So in order to get rid of your archived loops, we'll want to come up to Filter on this top white toolbar. This is a great thing to practice. This is very handy in organizing your Dotloop account. So I'm clicking on that filter option on the top right white toolbar. And you'll notice in this middle column here, it has all those status options we were just looking at. So typically you'll want to check the check boxes for all of them that you can, and let's go ahead and leave our sold loops unchecked and the archive loops unchecked. Okay, so you can select all the others. You have the option to do up to, I believe it's 9 different statuses here. All right, so in particular, we don't necessarily need to see our sold loops, right? Because we're done with those loops. We don't need to see those crowding up our Dotloop homepage. And we, of course, don't need to see our archive loops because those are ones that maybe we accidentally created. Okay, that's like deleting it, right, in Dotloop terms. So once I check all the statuses minus the sold and the archived options here, I can click this big red filter button on the top right of your screen. To go ahead and filter to those options. So now in theory, what you're looking at on my Dotloop homepage here is all of my loops besides my archived and my sold loops. Okay, so this is a great way to organize your Dotloop account. All right, so back to that question, if you ever lose a loop, right, what you'll want to do, the reason it gets quote unquote lost is these filters. All right, so what you'll want to do is come back up to filter on this top white toolbar. And again, this is if you ever lose a loop, all you need to do is go back up to filter and just click clear all to clear all the filter statuses that you've checked in any of these columns. So again, that's clear all on the right hand side. And click filter, that big red filter button again. All right, and that will make every single one of your loops come back up. All right, so you'll be able to search for that right away. So again, rest assured you cannot delete anything from your Dotloop account, so it's there, I promise. Okay, so that is how you go about organizing your Dotloop homepage views and utilizing these statuses right on this Dotloop homepage view to organize your loops. All right, so that will really come in handy as you start to have more loops in your account. So let's go ahead and kick it off and create a practice loop in order to start working on some new tips here. So from this Dotloop homepage view, so again, I'm in the list view, and that can be toggled back and forth by this red circle on the top right. Okay, so it's entirely up to you, of course, which Dotloop homepage view you use, but I'm going to use the list view because I prefer it. All right, and one more thing actually before we create a new loop, I just also want to point out the sort by option at the top of your screen, giving you the option to sort your Dotloop homepage by the last updated loop that you have, which is handy, okay, so you can find that right away. Of course, there's options for address, right? There's all these different options that you have, okay? Last update is my personal favorite because it shows your most worked in loops at the very top of your screen. All right, so let's go ahead and click on this create a loop option on the far right of this red search bar to get going on a practice loop. Now again, this is a little more faster paced class, okay, because it's all these advanced tips. If I lose anyone, feel free to comment in the chat box, okay, and join me, and I'm happy to answer any questions or catch you up. All right, so as we are creating a loop here, let's go ahead and put in a practice loop address. So if you want to go ahead and put in 123 practice loop or 123 Main Street or maybe your home address, all right, we just need a practice loop to start working on here. Okay, so as you and I are typing in this property address here, I just want to point out how it starts to offer different options that you can click on. Okay, so if you are a buyer's agent that's about to make an offer on a listing, this is particularly helpful. So by selecting one of these options here, if I were to select one of these, you'll notice it shows you the listing agent right there, so you know that it's the correct property, and it shows you that the source is Dotloop. Okay, if you were to select one of these options, what it would do is link up your account, link up your loop to the listing agent's loop. Now, the way it does that, it still keeps everything private. Of course, the listing agent cannot see anything in your loop. Okay, but what it does is it pulls over any property information that the listing agent might have put in their loop. Okay, so it puts that in your loop, any property information. But what it also does is it makes it so that when you make an offer on this listing by this listing agent, it puts that offer directly in that listing agent's loop. Now, if you've been using Dotloop for a while now, you might have noticed that when you get an offer or form shared to you by another agent, it creates a whole separate loop in your account, which is very annoying and very confusing to have two separate loops for the same transaction in your account. Okay. So by doing this, by selecting one of these suggested options from this dropdown, it will link your loops together, and again in a totally private way, but it will make it so any form shared to you on that property will go directly into your loop into a different folder name to help you stay organized. Okay, it's a really helpful tool as you're starting to work with Dotloop and learn it further. For today's class, I'm not going to select anything on there, but that is something to keep in mind, and we have a video on that topic specifically. If you would like more information on that, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which is Leah, and just let us know that you would like more information on linking loops together. All right, so after that long spiel there, let's go ahead and make sure we have that property address here. I just want to point out that you can often select a template underneath the property address as well. These are loop templates that are created by your Market Center staff, and some of these will give you all of the preliminary forms you need to get going in your listing or sale and so forth. So just to keep today's class all consistent, I'm going to go ahead and not select a template, but that can be a really handy trick. And I'm going to click Create Loop on the bottom right. Is our Market Center template set up? That would be created by your office staff. So if you do not see any templates from that drop-down, your Market Center staff just hasn't set that up for you. So feel free to ask them if they have that. One thing I want to point out, make sure that your Dotloop account is this red and black color. What you don't want is it to be a light blue. Okay, if it is a light blue color, that means you are not connected to your Market Center. Okay, if you are seeing your account is a light blue color, make sure to go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can fix that up for you. We can connect your Dotloop account to your Market Center. Okay, so we just don't want it to be a light blue color. All right, so once we go into our loop here, we do have three main sections. I just want to overview quickly here. That is one being this document section on the top of your screen. Okay, this is where you're going to be working in primarily adding documents to your loop, preparing the documents and sending it to your clients to be signed. Just a heads up, it does have this note as well. Anything you add to this loop is private until shared. Okay, that's the biggest concept of Dotloop, is everything is private to you until you share it to someone else. And we'll be diving deeper into that. Scrolling on down, you'll notice this people section at the bottom of your loop here. Okay, this is where you'll view any of your clients in your loop or maybe your mortgage provider. You will always see yourself. You'll notice it says you next to it. And the admin for your Market Center. Okay, the admin in your Market Center can always see your loops, and that's good because they do compliance on your loops. Okay, you'll notice also your Dotloop email address. If you have not already, please take note of what your Dotloop email address is. If you have an agent on the other side of the transaction share something to you in Dotloop, it needs to be shared to this email address specifically that you see next to your name in the people section. Okay, so that's really important to go ahead and make a note of that so you know where to tell agents to share forms to. And lastly, this task section on the very bottom of your screen. So on this bottom, it allows you to create to-do lists for yourself right here. If you're like me, I love to-do lists. So you can create to-do list templates in there that you can put for every listing. Things like, put the sign in the yard, have professionally measured, make it active in the MLS. Okay, so all the items that you need to do for your listing, okay, you can create to-do lists right here on the bottom task section here. So it can be a really handy tool. Now, if you'll scroll up to the top of your screen, I want to point out something before we get started. In the Dotloop 101 class, I do dive deeply into the View Details section of your loop. Okay, clicking on this View Details section right under the property address is where you can go in to enter in all the information to autofill onto your forms. Okay, so any of the property information, You can enter that in this view details section. It automatically goes onto your forms. I'm going to show you in today's class another way that you can go about doing that. I would highly suggest watching the Dotloop 101 class, but to make this very educational, I want to show you other ways that you can go about that as well. So for today's class, let's go ahead and scroll down to this People section on the bottom of your loop, where you'll notice you can click Add Person on the top right, that red button. Okay, so the first thing that you'll want to do when going into your loop is adding your clients to your loop so you can work with them. So let's go ahead and click Add Person on the bottom right here. So I'm in line with this People section on the bottom of my loop. Let's go ahead and click Add Person. So there's three main things you'll need when adding a person to your loop, adding your customer here. So first of all, you'll need their first and last name. Got Tony Stark for any Iron Man fans. You'll need their email address. And you'll also need a role assigned to them. Okay, so if you want to go ahead for the email address, something I find is fun to do in these classes, go ahead and put in a personal email address that you have, an email address that's not associated to your Dotloop account, as we just saw. Okay, if you put in a personal email address for today's class, you can see what it looks like when your clients are shared forms and how easy it is for them to go about signing. And for our role here, let's go ahead and select that this is the seller. So we're going to be working on a listing in today's class. So you'll click on the role drop down and select seller. All right, so another couple things to note while adding your customers. So first of all, a common question is you might run into a husband and a wife who share one email address, okay? And unfortunately, the way that Dotloop identifies them as two different people is the two different email addresses. So it prevents people from being able to sign for both parties. So unfortunately, there's no way around that. The husband and the wife will have to have separate email addresses to be able to electronically sign. If you run into that situation, feel free to encourage one of them to get a free Gmail account. Aside from that, you would have to take the form to them to be able to hand sign it. Okay, so again, all parties have to have their own email address in order to electronically sign. All right, and let's talk about this add to my team feature. Okay, if you are taking notes, okay, I'm going to be pointing out things to take notes on. This is a big one, add to my team. Please make a note to never, ever, ever click add to my team if you are adding a client to your loop. Okay, so what this does, if you were to click add to my team, it would make it so that that person could see every single thing in your loop that you can see. And we of course don't want that for our clients, okay? We only want our clients to see what we choose for them to see, right? What we share with them, we want them to be able to see, not everything in your loop. Okay, so please make a note to never click this add to my team button if you are adding a client to your loop. Now, this is a really handy tool. Let's talk about when you would want to use it. Okay, if you are co-listing a property with an agent in your office, so you are on the same side of the transaction with another agent in your office, if you were to click add to my team, it would put this loop in that other agent's Dotloop account as well, so you both can collaborate on the loop. So you can both have all the same functionality from the loop and share the tasks. Okay, so again, that's if you're on the same side of the transaction. Also, if you are on a team and you have an admin on your team, you can click this add to my team checkbox right here, and it will put this loop in your admin's Dotloop account, or if you have a transaction coordinator, right, so that they can help you out with your loop. All right, so that's some uses of the add to my team feature, but again, we're noting that we don't click that for our client. And let's go ahead and click add person on the bottom right to officially add in our client to our loop. All right, I now see that I have my client in the people section here, the client's email address, and he's labeled as seller. Okay, if you ever get told that your client's email address is incorrect or you need to update that, you can 100% do so by clicking on the 3 drop-down dots to the far right to click edit. Okay, so you are able to edit that client's information from here. All right, if you're ever looking for more options of what to do, these 3 drop-down dots are universal in Dotloop of more options. All right, so one more thing to do here in line with your name. Let's go ahead and change none. Maybe. All right, there we go. This none option, go ahead and click on here. And let's select listing agent. So these roles right here are really important for you or your clients to be able to electronically sign. Just a heads up, your clients will not be able to electronically sign forms if they do not have the role as seller. And we'll be looking at that deeper in just a second here. All right, so that is how you go about adding your clients to the loop. Of course, you can click add person again to add, let's say, the spouse or other parties to this transaction. So now that we know how to add our clients to the loop, let's scroll on to the top of our screen back to our documents section. Okay, again, this is where most of our work goes in, is this documents section. All right, let's talk about how we want to organize our loop. So in a transaction, you get a whole slew of forms that go into a single transaction. It's very overwhelming to go into a loop and see one folder with every single form in it that goes into the transaction. It's hard to quickly find the forms that you need, and when your admin are looking at your loops to do compliance on it, trust me, they're not thrilled to see all the forms in one folder either. So let's talk about how we can organize our Dotloop account, or I'm sorry, this loop specifically, to have separate folders for our forms. So first of all, we have a folder defaulted in there. And on the far right of the folder name, let's go ahead and click on those 3 drop-down dots that again indicate more options. And let's click rename. Okay, so again, 3 drop-down dots on the far right, and we're selecting rename from that drop-down. You'll notice the cursor starts blinking on the left side of the folder name, where I'm just going to go ahead and simply type in the word listing to change that to listing folder. Feel free to practice along with me on this one. I promise this will come in handy and make your life a lot easier, a lot more organized, a lot more efficient as you're finding forms in your loop. So after typing in the folder name that we want, we can simply click in the white margin to make that folder name stick, or you can click enter on your keyboard. Either one will turn it bold and red, showing you that that has stuck. If you added a random letter in there or misspelled anything, of course, we just go down to this drop-down menu and click to rename that again. No worries at all. All right, so typically if it's a listing loop that you're creating, we'll want 3 folder names, okay? A listing folder, a sales folder, and a closing folder. So how we go about adding those other folders in is we just click add folder to the top right of this document section. All right, and it makes that new folder name display. All right, you'll see a ticker is ticking on the left side of where it says new. I can double click on the word new or use the arrows on my keyboard to move over and delete the word new and change that to sales folder instead. Okay, I'm going to click enter on my keyboard or click on the white margin to make that stick. And it doesn't hurt to practice. I'm going to do that one more time just so you guys can see a real life example here of what we want to organize. I'm going to click add folder one more time and change the word new to closing folder. All right, so the 3 folders, all right, listing folder, that would typically have things like your property disclosures signed by the seller, your listing agreement, and so forth. Anything to do with the listing of the property. Sales folder would have things like the fully executed contract, fully executed property disclosures, okay, everything to do with the actual contract. And lastly, as you might have guessed, closing folder will have things like the closing disclosure, a termite letter, anything involved in the actual closing of the property. Of course, you can use folders however you'd like to. Right? If an offer terminates, you can rename that folder as terminated offer to purchase so it's still in there and create a new folder for that new offer coming in. Okay, just an idea. You can use folders however you'd like to, but I strongly encourage folders to organize your loop. All right, so let's go ahead and click Add Document to the far right of the word Listing folder. So we are clicking Add Document to the far right of where it says Listing folder. And you'll notice 3 options display of how you can add forms to your loop. So first of all, we have this templates here. All right, so let's go ahead and click on the first blue box that says templates. Add an interactive form by selecting one from templates. Okay, so what an interactive form means is that you can just start typing in the document. So I'm going to select that first blue box here, and that will bring up all the forms that my Market Center staff has added to my Dotloop account. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of folder names in red. There is a little gray scroll bar that gets missed a lot of times that you can click to scroll down to all these folder names. And you can select whichever folder you would like to open up to look at the forms on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to be pulling in a listing agreement, so if you'd like to follow along and scroll through the folder names on the left-hand side and select one that might have the listing agreement in there. So I simply need to click on the folder name in red on the left-hand side to open that up. So these are all the forms that are in that listing folder. And I can use the search bar in the top of my screen here to search for the form that I want to pull in. So let's say I'm going to search the word listing. Okay, so this is searching this will pull up all the forms that have the word listing in the name of the form. Now you will notice that the form name does get cut off in this little box. Hover your mouse over the form name and it will pop up a little black speech bubble here telling you the full name of that form, so you know you're getting the right one there. So I'm searching for the form I would like on this top search bar here, and I can simply click on the checkbox to the left of whichever form I would like to bring into my loop. Just a heads up, you are more than welcome to click multiple checkboxes at once to check multiple forms and bring those into your loop at once. So I'm going to go ahead and click Copy to bring the listing agreement into my loop here. All right, so it shows me one of one have been imported, and I have imported this listing agreement. So I can go ahead and click OK on the bottom of my screen. Now to get into this form, to start editing it, all you need to do is simply click on the form name to go in and start editing it. Now just a heads up guys, before I go further, I'm working with North Carolina forms, so of course your form names and your forms are going to look different than mine. Just to give you a heads up, it's not wrong what's on your screen, it's just what is a little different looking. It would be nice if all forms across the US look the same, make everyone's life easier. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. Of course, all the concepts are the same. So go ahead and click on that form name to open that up in your account here. And this autofill box will display right away. This autofill box is your best friend. Okay, this saves you tons of time. So make sure to never ever click this this X on the top of the box right here. All right, we don't want to X out of this autofill box. We like the autofill box. It does a lot of work for us. In this top roles section, right? So where it says Seller 1, absolutely make sure that your client's name is listed there. Your client's name should automatically be displaying there since we told Dotloop that our client was the seller when we entered in our client's name. If you do not see your client's name there, no worries, go ahead and click on that to select your client's name from the drop-down. So let's say when you're working on this, you now found out that Tony Stark has a wife, your client has a wife here, or a spouse in the transaction. That's no problem at all. Where it says Seller 2 here, you can always click Select Person and go to Add Person right here to add in that second person on the transaction, okay, whoever else needs to sign. All right, so no worries on that. You can always add people here. What I can't stress enough to you guys is you need to make sure that your clients are listed here in this top section, or they will not be able to electronically sign. So that is also a noteworthy thing to add in this autofill box. Your clients need to be listed as seller 1 or 2 and so forth, or they will not be able to electronically sign. Super important. All right, so if you're working on a listing agreement with me, you should see your name as well in line with the listing agent, or you won't be able to electronically sign. Okay, so make sure you are seeing your name in line with listing agent. All right, so property address here. So any of this information that we enter in will auto-populate onto this form that we're working on, but even cooler, it will put all this information into that view details section that I mentioned a little bit ago, so that every form further that you bring into this loop will also populate any information you put in here. Okay, so of course, really information, we want to put it in this autofill box. So let's practice to see what it looks like when your information autofills onto the form. So if you want to just fill out this property address information, the street number and street name are 2 different fields, just a heads up. All right, I'm going to put in the city, postal code, all right, so I'm just going to put in some information so you can see what happens when it autofills. Okay, just a heads up, you can search by the address here as well to search for other loops, again, to pull in some autofill information. All right, but if you scroll down, you'll see other information that you can also type in to autofill on your forms. If you are a new agent and you're not super familiar with these forms, this autofill box is really helpful for you because I know on some of these forms are very convoluted. It's hard to know where on the form to enter the information. This autofill box straight up asks you for the information, you enter it in, and it will autofill. Okay, so this is really great for new agents. So if you keep scrolling on down, you can, of course, enter in all of this information, and Dotloop knows exactly where on the form to put all of these pieces of information. And let's go ahead and click the red autofill button on the bottom right. So I'm clicking the red autofill button on the very bottom right of this box. All right, once I do so, it'll give me this little black box on the side that says 2 roles have been assigned and 13 fields have been autofilled. Okay, the way I know which fields have been autofilled is those fields are yellow on my form. Okay, so the yellow fields indicate that those have been autofilled. Now I go over in depth how to prepare these forms in the Dotloop 101 class, okay? So just for time's sake, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go over that. But, you know, filling out these forms are as easy as clicking to start typing. Okay, so they are very easy to prepare, pretty intuitive to use. As I scroll down to the bottom of my page, I do always want to cross-check that my seller's initials are in the boxes to be able to electronically sign. If it just says seller in both of these boxes, they will not be able to electronically sign. It is super important that we see our client's initials in print here that indicates to us that we set it up correctly and they will be able to electronically sign. Okay. If I were to print out this form, it would be blank. All right, this TS in print there, again, that's just showing that you set that up correctly. In the case that it does say seller in both of these boxes here, no worries, you can pull that autofill box right back up by clicking autofill in the top black toolbar. Okay, it's asking if I want to save. I'm going to click yes. And it'll pull that autofill box right back up where I can make sure I have my clients in a seller 1 and seller 2. Okay, so if you ever do not have your client's initials on this bottom box, you can pull that autofill box right back up to fix that up. Okay, some things I want to mention that are a little more advanced. Okay, let's come over to this More tab on this top black toolbar. And let's talk about host in-person signing. Okay, I don't really recommend clicking it right now, but let me talk to you about that a little bit. So host in-person signing. Let's say you're on a listing appointment with your clients and you're filling out the listing agreement next to them on your computer or your tablet. Okay, so you can explain the form to them, negotiate that commission, right, and fill it out right in front of them. Well, instead of having to send this form via email for them to electronically sign, wouldn't it be nice if you could just pass your computer right on over to your client for them to electronically sign for right next to you? Well, good news is that's what this host in-person signing does. All right, so if your client is sitting right next to you, you would of course want to prepare the entire form first. Okay, so you prepare the entire form first, then come up to more and go host in-person signing. All right, and again, don't do this with me, okay, but it will ask you which form or which client you'd like to be signing. You'll click continue, and it will tell you to pass your device over to your client to electronically sign. Now, just a heads up, another thing to note, if you do choose to do this with your client, what it does is it signs you out of your Dotloop account and it signs your client into their new free Dotloop account. So when your client passes the computer back to you, all right, you will need to log back into your Dotloop account specifically, okay? I just don't want you guys to not look like you know what you're doing. All right, of course, I recommend practicing these things before actually doing them in front of a client. But again, after hosting in-person signing, you will have to log back into your Dotloop account. Okay, just a heads up on that. All right, so again, we did that in more and host in-person signing there. All right, so of course you could share this form via email to our clients to be able to electronically sign. And I do go into sharing the form in depth in the Dotloop 101 class. If you'd like to know more info on that, again, that's slmtraining.com for the Dotloop 101 class. But for now, let's go ahead and click the back button on the top left of our screen. Okay, it's kind of hard to see. There's a red back arrow on this black toolbar. Okay, it might ask you if you want to share the form right now. You can say no. If it asks you if you want to save the form, go ahead and say yes. All right, so having this practice loop in here is really great to practice different features in Dotloop like that host in-person signing. So it's really great to keep this practice loop in your account. So let's talk about the other ways that you can add forms to your loops. So next to where it says sales folder, or any of your folder names, let's go ahead and click Add Document. All right, so we went over this templates feature here. So again, that allows you to bring in interactive forms, which means forms that you can just start typing in. Okay, if you want those kind of forms, that's this first option here. Let's talk about the second option where it says Browse. Okay, it says search and add any PDFs from your computer into this folder. So let's talk about when we would use this option. So let's say you have a client who's not super technology savvy or they don't trust electronic signatures. You'll definitely run into that, okay? Or maybe you don't like technology very much. No worries. You can 100% just simply print out these forms and bring it on your appointment to have your client hand sign it. And that's no problem at all. But then when you come back to the office, you will have that, let's say, listing agreement in your hands and you need to get that into your Dotloop account. All right, so if you have physical forms in your hand that you need in your Dotloop account, what you would do first is scan those forms to your computer. Okay, if you have a home scanner or maybe your market center has a scanner, you'll scan those documents to your computer and save them on your computer. All right, the next step is we're going to click Browse right here on this blue box, second blue box there, to start browsing our computer. All right, so you'll navigate on your computer to wherever that form is saved. Okay, and you can always just look on my screen right now if you don't have any PDFs on your computer to practice with. And I can simply double click on the form name to pull that in right away. Okay, so here's that form that I just pulled in. All right, so that is if you have a PDF. Now just a heads up, Dotloop only accepts PDFs. So sometimes I see that you'll take a picture of maybe like an earnest money check, for example. You're not able to add that to your loop as an image file. Okay, so it doesn't accept JPEG or PNG files. If you run into that, There are JPEG to PDF converters online. If you Google JPEG to PDF converter, right, there's a bunch of free options that pop up. Right, so you can convert that picture of your checks to a PDF so you can add that to your loop. If you would like for us to email over a PDF converter, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. Right, so, and just ask us for a JPEG to PDF converter and we're happy to send that over. Okay, that was just an extra tip there. So let's talk about editing PDFs in your Dotloop account. So let's go ahead and click on, if you have a PDF that you want to add to your loop to practice this, feel free, right? Or you can just watch on my screen if you prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and click this offer to purchase that I brought into my loop to open that up. Now you'll notice I can tell it's a PDF because I can't just simply start clicking and typing in it like we saw in that listing agreement. Okay, typically PDF editors cost money. Adobe is one example of a PDF editor, and it typically costs money. However, Dotloop gives you the option to edit PDFs for free, well included with your KW technology fees. So what you can do, let's talk about some cool features that we can utilize to edit these PDFs. So first of all, in this file menu here, let's talk about how you can split the document. So for example, if we need to split the document, like if you took your entire listing package, so all the forms that go into your listing, and you put that all into your loop as one file, if you wanted to split that file into, separate the listing agreement from the residential property disclosure and so forth, you can come up to File, Split Document, and you can split it in up to, so you'll see it says Split Document in however many different files. So let's say I want 3 different files here. And you can name the file. Okay, so if this one's the offer to purchase, and that will be pages 1 to 5, okay, and so forth. Okay, if this one's receipt of earnest money, and you can label which one that is. Okay, so that's just an example of how you can split the document, which really comes in handy. All right, other options you have in this file menu here is rotating the document. Okay, if you have ever scanned a document in and now it is sideways in your loop, okay, you can rotate that right from here so you're not craning your neck and sideways to look at the document. So those are just a couple good ones from this file menu here to note. All right, but where it really comes in handy is in this add option here on the top black toolbar. So let's talk about that. So as far as the Dotloop system goes, once you have a fully executed offer to purchase or any document, you are not able to make edits to that document or it will erase your client's signatures. Okay, because Dotloop thinks, well, they didn't sign for that change, and that makes sense, right? All right, but let's say that your clients have a fully executed offer to purchase, but you guys verbally talked about and agreed on moving the settlement date back a week. Okay, so instead of having to re-sign the offer to purchase, you could add that as a PDF, as it is here, and again, that makes it so that I can't click on it, and it also preserves the signatures. So just use your imagination. Imagine this is a fully executed document here. Okay, so that means it will preserve the signatures and make it so that those signatures will not go away. So if I just want to edit one portion of this document, I can come down to, let's say, the settlement date section in this example. And I'm going to push back the settlement date. So I'm going to come up to this add button, okay, this add field on the top black menu. And I'm going to click add strike through from that drop down. So let's go to add on the top black toolbar. It just gives you a whole bunch of different things you can add, and we're going to be talking about those. But let's click add strike through, and it will start following your mouse. Okay, you can line up that strike through wherever you'd like it, and then simply click to drop that. All right, so let's do it again. And we need to add a text box to put in that new date. Okay, so in theory, you can either put in an add text to type in that date, or we can do add date. So let's go ahead and do add date. Again, that field will start following your mouse. Guys, just a heads up, you will not see it following your mouse if you're on a touchscreen computer or a tablet. You'll just need to click to drop that field and you'll see it appear. All right, and we are moving the settlement date. So once we click on the date field, okay, for date field specifically, it does have this little calendar icon that pops down, an actual calendar that you can select a date from, and it will populate that in. All right, so of course, the last portion that needs to be done, your clients need to electronically sign for that change. So we need our clients to sign for that. So we need to come up to this add option on the top black toolbar. And now go to add initials to add initial fields for our clients to electronically sign. So I'm going to select add initials. It will start following my mouse. I can line up that initial box wherever I'd like it, and I can click to drop. Now with initial and signature fields, there is one extra step. So I've really harped on how you need to make sure you're assigning fields to your client so they can electronically sign, and this is no different here. So where it says initial here, you'll notice this little drop down appears that you can click assign field. So I'm going to go ahead and click assign field from that drop down. And you'll notice this red drop down appear on the left hand side that I can simply come over and click on my client's name. This should look familiar now. I now see my client's initials in print in this initial box here. And again, that indicates to me that I set it up correctly, that they will be able to electronically sign. Okay, very important. Okay, they will not be able to assign any fields that are not assigned to them. All right, so now I would just simply be able to save and share the document, send it to my client, and he would be able to sign that one field I added. Now let's say we got a little click happy, we were adding an initial box and we accidentally clicked it and dropped it in the middle of our form here. No worries guys, as long as it is clicked, so as long as the field is selected, you will see this black bar appear and this red X that you can remove that field right away. Okay, so you can't always remove fields if you accidentally lay any. All right, so that is the main functions of editing a PDF. Can really come in handy if you are trying to, make one change to a fully executed document, okay? Or if an agent on the other side of the transaction, let's say that belongs to Helen Adams, okay, doesn't use Dotloop, okay, you'll be able to add that form to your loop, add signature boxes so your client can electronically sign. So that will really come in handy to you. So let's go ahead and click back on the top left of our screen here. So this little red arrow on the black toolbar. It'll probably ask you if you want to save. I'm going to click yes. If it asks you if you want to share the form, go ahead and click no. And let's talk about the very last option that we have to add a document. This one is my personal favorite. I get a little overexcited about this one. So what you'll want to do is click Add Document at the far right of any of the folder names just to practice this. You'll probably just want to watch it on my screen here. So this third and final option here is the email in. Okay, so it says attach the files you need to an email and send them directly into this folder. Okay, this is pretty cool. So let's say that an agent on the other side of the transaction sends you an offer to purchase, attaches it to an email, and sends it to you. So you now have that PDF attachment in your email, and you need to get that PDF directly into your loop. This is the fastest way to go about doing that. Okay, so step one is I'm going to go ahead and click email right here. Okay, so I'm clicking this third option. If you don't see these three boxes here, just click Add Document to the right of the folder name to pull that up and select Email. Okay, it will generate the super long, crazy Dotloop email address that is specific to this folder in this loop. So step 1 would be clicking copy to clipboard. You'll notice it'll turn green and say the email has been copied to clipboard. So that's good. So now what we would want to do is pull up our Gmail account and go to that offer to purchase that the agent on the other side has sent us. So I see the PDF offer to purchase. Okay, attaches the OTP. So what I'm going to want to do, if you're in Gmail, okay, we want to forward the email. Okay, so whatever email system you use, you'll want to forward this email with the attachment of the offer or that PDF, whatever that might be. So in Gmail, I click on the drop-down arrow on the far right of the email to click forward. Okay, it might be slightly different if you use a different email account, but your KW Gmail address or account, this is what you do. Click the drop-down on the far right of the email and click forward. Okay, I'm then going to right-click in the to field to click paste. And it will paste in that crazy long Dotloop email address. Now you'll notice there's a bunch of verbiage in the email. However, that will all be ignored and it will just forward in this PDF of the offer into that loop. So once I have that crazy long email address pasted in, I'm going to go ahead and click send. All right, now I'm going back to my Dotloop account. Now it typically takes about 20 to 30 seconds for that to pull over. However, it will not just appear in your loop. Okay, you will have to refresh your page in order to see that change. Okay, to refresh your page, if you're not familiar with that, that would just be this arrow and a circle on the top left of your browser. Okay, typically by the back button. So it's the arrow and the circle on the top left of your browser will refresh the page. And there we go. Once I refresh, I now have that emailed offer to purchase right in my loop. So it's a pretty cool feature. It's the fastest way to get a PDF, an attachment from your email right into your loop. Now I know that was a couple steps, guys. I made a video on that tip specifically. So if you want to watch that again, feel free to go to slmtips.com. Okay, that's where all our tip videos are. If you have any trouble finding it, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. Let me send over our email address here. So that is support@scottleroymarketing.com. All right, feel free to put attention my name, which again is Leah, and let me know that you would like the tip video on how to email forms into Dotloop, and I'll be happy to send that right over to you. Okay. All right, so just a heads up, one last way to add documents to your loop, you will notice you can drag and drop files into your loop. Okay, I really like to drag and drop forms, so if you do have anything on your, let's say in your files, you can always click to drag and drop that into your loop directly, okay? Also a fast way to get your forms in there. All right, so let's talk about the different options that we have on the right-hand side here of what to do further with our forms. So again, those 3 drop-down dots on the far right of that form name does indicate more options. Okay, so I just want to point out a couple things here. We have the option, this will open it in Dotloop. This will rename it. So this rename option, of course, will rename it so you can name it executed offer to purchase. Or if it terminates, terminated offer to purchase. Make a copy, very cool feature in Dotloop. Making a copy allows you to move the forms from one loop to another. Okay, so if you ever need to move loops from one loop to another, this make a copy feature will do that for you. Again, I created a tip video on the make a copy feature. So same thing as that last tip. If you want that tip video, feel free to go to slmtips.com or you can email our support email address and let me know that you would like the make a copy tip video. I'd be happy to send that over to you after class. All right, this history option here that will show you every click that was done in the form, when it was signed, and so forth. Print, I'm sure you can guess what that does. Downloading the form, that will pull it outside of the system as a PDF to download it on your computer. I would highly suggest downloading any executed documents that come into your loop just in case signatures get erased. We always want to have that backup of it. Okay, it's always good to have all your forms downloaded to your computer anyway, just to make sure you don't lose those. Last two options here, archiving. So I have mentioned that you cannot delete anything in your loop, but you can archive items. Okay, so if this form you no longer need, right, we have a duplicate of it. If I were to archive that form, it goes away, right? It's not viewable here. But no worries, you can always get that back by clicking Show Archived on the top of your loop. Okay. The Show Archives option only appears once you've actually archived a document. If you're wondering why you're not seeing that, that's why. And lastly, and this is a pretty cool one, so if you run into a client or agent that require you to fax a form, okay, I guess people still use faxes, so if you do not have a fax machine, Dotloop does allow you to fax a form right over to people. So it will allow you to fax out. Unfortunately, you can't receive faxes to your Dotloop account, but you can send this form via fax, which is pretty cool. Okay, and the last thing that I want to cover before letting you guys go for the day is how to submit a loop for review and get to your green sheets from here. Okay, so what you'll want to do to submit a loop for review, you'll notice on the very top of your screen it says Submit for Review. So if you scroll up to the very top right, you'll see it says Submit for Review, and you can click there. Okay, if you haven't put in the address yet, it might ask you to go ahead and put in that address. And click Next. All right, and it will then prompt you to go ahead and select which folder that you'd like to submit. So let's say I have all my listing documents, but I'm not ready for my office to compliance check my other two folders yet. All right, you would go ahead and click the checkbox next to the folder that you're ready for them to compliance check. And where it says Select Type here, you can go ahead and select Listing. Okay, whichever would apply. Now you can go ahead and put in a message for your office staff, like I am adding in this document for you to check. And by the way, don't do this right now. Your office staff won't be thrilled with me if you guys all submit random loops for review. All right, but you can click Submit on the bottom right here, and that would submit it to your office staff. Again, don't, since this is just a practice, but that's how you would go about doing it. All right, and how to get to your green sheets from your Dotloop account. We would come up to View Details on this top of our loop. Okay, so it's right under the loop name where it says View Details. Okay, so I clicked on View Details on the top of my loop right under the loop name. You'll then see the option on the top right. You have the option to submit for review right up here. And you also have the option to submit to green sheet. Okay, so if I were to click on that, all right, if it gives you any sort of error message, I didn't sign in through an eEdge account, okay, but if it gives you this error message right here, no worries, you just need to call Dotloop to get that fixed up. Okay, you would need to access your Dotloop account from mykw.kw.com in order to access the green sheets, just a heads up, and your pop-up blocker would also need to be turned off. If you have any issues with this green sheet section here, again, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com and we'd be happy to help you through that. But that is how you will get to your green sheets right here. All right, guys, so that is the Dotloop 201 class, a little bit more of the advanced tips, tricks, and time savers. Again, this class will be recorded on slmtraining.com. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. I hope you guys have a happy Friday Eve and happy looping.